In low-lying areas between yellow dunes and grey dunes, or like here between the grey dunes and the dune heath, we often find a wetland environment in these zones that we call dune slacks. As we move inland away from the sea, the water table comes closer to the ground surface, and the trough of these dune slacks actually dips down below the water table, which is why they fill with this fresh water. So this dune slack predominantly contains fresh water, and it also contains fine muddy sediment that's been transported into the dune slack by runoff, by the wind, and also by inundation during storm surges, creating a habitat for freshwater flora and fauna. Other dune slacks are located closer to the coastline and more subject to the influence of the sea.
And that is exactly what we see here. We're just a couple of 100 metres away from the coastline. There's a lot more of an influence of the salty water, the ocean water here. And that ocean water comes in on high tides and occasionally on storm surges. And when it comes in, it brings in mud, lots of fine-grained sediment. And that causes the dune slack, the marsh here, to build up. And measurements have shown that the mud in this area builds up at around 20 millimetres a year. That seawater brings with it not only the mud that builds up the marsh, it also brings with it seeds of plants. And those plants need to be salt tolerant. They need to be able to grow in that salty water. So plants such as this purslane. It's not just the seawater that brings in those seeds, we also get seeds blown in by the wind, and they give us this particularly salt-tolerant vegetation. So dune slacks can be found closer to the coastline, where they're influenced by salt water, or further from the coastline, where they're more influenced by groundwater.
But whether dune slacks are filled with salt water, fresh water, or a brackish combination of the two, they help create rich wetland coastal ecosystems in sand dune environments.